In the global fight against COVID-19, the Jewish people, who make up a tiny percentage of the world's population, have had an outsized impact in the difficult battle to protect lives. As scientists, chief medical officers, and top healthcare officials. Yet the contributions of one extraordinary person tower above the rest. That extraordinary person is Pfizer Chairman and CEO, Dr. Albert Bourla. Dr. Bourla led his team to deliver a COVID-19 vaccine in record time, while taking a risk by declining U.S. federal funding to avoid government bureaucracy and expedite vaccine production. A child of Holocaust survivors from a Greek Jewish community destroyed by the Nazis, he's proud of his Jewish heritage, is active in Holocaust remembrance and education, and a strong supporter of Israel. The pandemic is certainly not over, but the world is infinitely better off with Dr. Bourla helping lead the charge to save lives, with more than 2.5 billion Pfizer vaccine doses already distributed. Because of Dr. Bourla's extraordinary contribution to humanity as the world battles the worst health crisis in 100 years, Dr. Albert Bourla has been selected as the recipient of the 2022 Genesis Prize, the Jewish Nobel Prize. Thank you, and congratulations, Dr. Bourla. In the global fight against COVID-19, the Jewish people, who make up a tiny percentage of the world's population, have had an outsized impact.
Anti-Semitic posters are starting to pop up across Wisconsin. The flyers were first spotted in Florida and have since been seen across 6 states. The sheets all contain the same hateful message, blaming the Jewish community for the COVID-19 pandemic.
I don't know what the thinking was behind where they were distributed.
From Florida to Kenosha, hundreds of anti-Semitic posters were recently distributed blaming the Jewish community for the COVID-19 pandemic.
The topic of the flyer, which has been seen, the same exact flyer has been seen all across the country, is saying that Jews are behind COVID. And that is 100% false, that Jews are behind the COVID pandemic or somehow profiting from the pandemic.
In the global fight against COVID-19, the Jewish people, who make up a tiny percentage of the world's population, have had an outsized impact.
That is 100% false.
Wait a minute!
I'm going to Hollywood. They'll say that I'm so good. I won't care how I feel. And I'll get the Brook Shield. And I'll just sit and grin. The money will roll right in.
The rabbi says it's important to report incidents like this and to speak up against hate and false information.
We want people to be concerned and to speak out when they see something is wrong.
Anyone that receives a flyer is encouraged to contact their local law enforcement and agencies like the Anti-Defamation League.
In the global fight against COVID-19, the Jewish people, who make up a tiny percentage of the world's population, have had an outsized impact.
That is 100% false, that Jews are behind the COVID pandemic or somehow profiting from the pandemic.
Shares of Pfizer.
The pills and the treatment of COVID becomes more of a focus for markets, by the way, and for investors.
Of course, most of us will continue to follow the recommendations in the science.
That is 100% false,